Now we're moving on to our business segment we have with here Don Ma presenting business matters for today. Don, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so the latest jobs report is out today, so let me get on that. Head on over to the wall here, and we'll start with this jobs report a bit later. First, I got to talk about 7-Eleven. It has rejected a multi-billion-dollar offer to merge with Circle K. The 7-Eleven chain is owned by Japan's 7 & I Holdings. It hinted at that the $39 billion bid from the Canadian owner of Circle K convenience stores was too low. It suggested that its global business was worth more. Analysts are saying that they had previously predicted that the combined entity would have controlled nearly a fifth of the U.S. convenience store market. In a statement today, 7 & I Holdings said it was open to any proposal that could benefit its shareholders. Meanwhile, Toyota is the latest car maker to cut its EV projections. Nikkei Business Daily says the Japanese automaker has slashed its electric vehicle production plans by a third. And this means in 2026, the world's largest car maker will be building about 1 million EVs. Toyota noted that the number were not targets, instead they were benchmarks for shareholders. And as well, the Dutch government is restricting the export of advanced processor chips. This is the type that can be used in weapons systems. Companies will now have to apply for authorization to export to buyers outside the European Union. The Netherlands is home to the world's leading makers of chip machines, ASML. This new policy is part of various measures the U.S. has been encouraging to restrict China's access to the advanced technology. Now onto the jobs market. The U.S. economy created fewer jobs than projected in August. Jobs data falling short of expectations for the second consecutive month. The number of full-time positions plummeted. Much of the job creation was concentrated in construction, healthcare, government, and social assistance.
This is another jobs report that demonstrates that our economy continues to grow, that job numbers continue to increase, and the unemployment rate still remains historically low. Remember, a few years ago, most people predicted this would not be possible to get to an unemployment rate at or near 4% this quickly and to have the kind of job growth that we've had. Nearly 16 million created since President Biden and Vice President Harris came into office.
According to data released Friday by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, employers added an estimated 142,000 jobs last month, but the two prior months' numbers were revised down by a total of 87,000 jobs. And the unemployment rate remained pretty much unchanged. It's down a bit now to 4.2%. Acting Labor Secretary reacted to the jobs report, as we heard just now. And joining us to discuss the jobs report is Brandon Arnold. He's the Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union. Brandon, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, so 142,000 jobs added last month. That's the headline number. What do we see under the hood?
Yeah, I mean, overall, this isn't a reason for celebration, I don't think. I appreciate what the secretary is saying here, but at the same time, we have to put this in context. And the numbers aren't particularly strong. It shows that we have a cooling labor market. That is a major concern right now, because as the labor market concern, that can have a downward impact on wages. Wages have been relatively strong through this recovery period since the pandemic, but if they start to taper off or even decline, we could be heading toward a really dangerous economic area.
So can you lay out for us how you're seeing that the labor market is cooling? What are the signs?
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at job listings are actually down this month. That is one indication. The revision to previous month's job numbers. The unemployment rate, the secretary was right, the unemployment rate has been relatively flat. But since the pandemic basically ended, we had seen pretty rapid job growth, much stronger than what most economists had predicted. We had seen the unemployment number start to fall considerably. But now that it's plateauing, that does suggest that we're in a cooling phase here, and that can have major implications for consumer spending, for people's ability to pay off debt, which could create huge economic problems, of course, for these individuals and small businesses. So you can have these cascading impacts here if these indicators are part of a longer trend here of an economic downturn.
And Brandon, let me mention this point as well. U.S. job openings dropped to a 3.5-year low in July. So that's about 1.07 openings for every unemployed person in July. As you mentioned, the labor market is slowing down. What are your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's another cause for concern here. As those numbers, those openings decline, you have less competitiveness. The way employers deal with a very strong job market is they have to pay their employees more to retain them. They have to pay new applicants more to hire them away from other businesses. So that's what pushes wages up. When those openings begin to decline, then employers are in the catbird seat there, and they don't have to offer up as much in the way of wages. Those wages start to fall, and it becomes much more difficult for households to pay their bills, especially at a time when inflation is high, especially at a time when interest rates are high. So you're seeing much higher housing payments. Credit card bills are much more difficult to pay off. So all these things, again, can snowball and really start to hurt working class Americans quickly.
And your thoughts as well in the rising number of part-time workers as opposed to full-time. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a part of that can often be part of just cyclical changes in the economy. But some employers are more hesitant to offer up a longer term, more costly employment arrangement. If you're paying a full-time worker, not only you're paying them a salary or wages, you're also paying them benefits oftentimes, and that can be far more costly on those employers. When they start to have a less in the way of money to deal with, one of the things they do is switch to more part-time arrangements. Those part-time employees don't have quite as high a price tag attached to them as the full-time employers, and it gives them a little bit more flexibility to reduce labor costs. So that's another sign here that we're facing tougher times in terms of labor markets right now.
What about the Federal Reserve likely cutting rates in September? How much of an impact will that have? Will that help with things?
Yeah, I'd say that's almost a slam dunk at this point. You know, we're going to get inflation data next week, and then the following week is when the Fed will meet next. And I think it's almost certain that they're going to cut rates probably to the tune of a quarter of a point. And yeah, I think that will help. That will stimulate more economic activity, helping to reduce lending costs. And you just think of people right now that are in variable rate mortgages or people that have tremendous amounts of credit card debt. You know, those payments are extraordinarily high because interest rates have been so high since the Fed started taking action a few years ago. These people need some relief here, and I think it'll come in when the Fed meets in a week and a half. And I do think that'll have broader economic impacts as well. It'll stimulate more economic activity. The risk there is it could drive up inflation, but I think the need is so pronounced right now with the job market starting to show signs of weakness and potentially consumer activity following suit.
All right, Brandon, thank you very much for your thoughts today.
Thanks a lot, Don. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on from that, the Internal Revenue Service says it's collected nearly $1.3 billion in overdue taxes from wealthy households since last fall. It says it's a result of a ramp-up of enforcement efforts funded by the Democrat-backed Inflation Reduction Act that Congress passed 2 years ago. The Biden administration has said that increased enforcement actions will only target corporations and wealthy taxpayers who earn more than $400,000 a year. And the Trump campaign has claimed that the $80 billion expansion of the IRS is an example of reckless spending that's taken place under President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. The Independent Congressional Budget Office and other budget experts say that spending money on tax enforcement can reduce the deficit by bringing in more tax revenue. Meanwhile, economic growth has slower than expected in terms of growth in Europe. In the second quarter, it performed worse than the US and the UK by comparison. The European Union Statistics Agency shared the update. This was marked a slowdown from the first quarter. The numbers also revealed that investment fell sharply and consumer spending declined as well. The revision is due in part to weaker growth in France and Ireland. Ireland has contracted sharply since drug demand dropped after the pandemic. Recent survey and data show continued weakness into the third quarter and a growing risk that Germany is sliding into a recession. Now, the weakness in Germany's economy could be coming from its car industry. The sector is adjusting to the shift to EVs. It's also grappling with competition from Chinese brands and Chinese manufacturing. They're also losing out to competitors, especially since German electric vehicles are expensive. Trade tensions and import tariffs between China and the EU are also a challenge. Since the auto industry is one of the most important in the country, it's issues impact the wider economy. On to Britain. The country's antitrust regulator said today it found out that Google has likely abused its power in digital advertising to limit competition. The Competition and Markets Authority said it believes Google favored its own ad exchange. This could hurt thousands of British publishers and advertisers. Google said it disagreed with the CMA's view and would respond accordingly. Meanwhile, U.S. Department of Justice and the European Commission are also investigating Google's activities in ad tech. Telegram founder Pavel Durov speaking out for the first time since his arrest. He calls France's charges against him misguided. Here's the latest.
Telegram founder Pavel Durov says the French police interviewed him for 4 days. He says they told him he may be personally responsible for other people's illegal use of Telegram. He says French authorities say they didn't always get a response when they contacted Telegram. Durov denies that Telegram refused to cooperate with European authorities, adding that the platform removes millions of posts every day. He says Telegram is absolutely not some sort of, quote, anarchic paradise. Late last month, French police stopped him when his plane landed at this Paris airport for a fuel stop. He was charged with facilitating criminal activity on Telegram and not responding to authorities. Durov says normally a country would take legal action against the platform itself instead of arresting the founder. Durov says he was surprised to be arrested. Durov is a French citizen, but he was born in Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin was asked about the arrest.
I don't understand the actions of the government.
Putin says Russia is also concerned about criminal activity on Telegram, but he says other platforms also have these problems. Durov says only a small percentage of Telegram's users are criminals, adding the platform is committed to making sure its moderation efforts are praised instead of criticized.
BMW and Toyota are combining their research and development efforts into producing hydrogen fuel cell-powered vehicles. The two companies also plan to assist in further developing hydrogen fuel infrastructure. NTD Sean Marshall has more.
BMW said on Thursday it aims to bring its first hydrogen-powered vehicle onto the market in 2028. The German car maker said it will use fuel cell technology developed with Toyota. BMW has been testing a hydrogen passenger vehicle, the iX5 Hydrogen, at different locations around the world. The common abbreviation is FCEV, short for Fuel Cell Electric Vehicle. According to a Polaris market research study, the global hydrogen fuel cell vehicle market was valued at $2.2 billion in 2023, has an expected compound annual growth rate of 45% going through to 2032. Fewer pollutants, less noise, dynamic driving, no emission, and short charging times are a few of the positives to hydrogen cars. It just takes 3 to 4 minutes to refill the hydrogen tank of a BMW iX5 Hydrogen. Studies in Germany show that an infrastructure with both electric charging and hydrogen refueling stations is cheaper overall than one with pure electric charging. BMW and Toyota will jointly develop the powertrain system for passenger vehicles. The two automakers expect to apply the core fuel cell technology to both commercial and passenger vehicles. Both companies are supporting the expansion of both hydrogen refueling and battery electric vehicle charging infrastructure. BMW and Toyota say they believe this will help lower the cost of hydrogen fuel cell technology. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
And one of the most important film events of the year kicked off yesterday. Toronto streets were packed with fans and celebrities and film industry experts as well from all around the world. This left crowds excited for more at the Toronto International Film Festival, otherwise known as TIFF. Let's check it out.
After years of disruptions, including the 2020 pandemic and the Writers Guild strikes in 2023, the Toronto International Film Festival is back in full swing. Today marks the opening of TIFF, where some of the world's best films and superstars are set to take the stage over the next 11 days.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a year where we're expecting Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, Nicole Kidman, Bruce Springsteen, a lot of really global stars.
The festival kicked off with David Gordon Green's Nutcrackers, starring Ben Stiller.
So we made it in this little farmhouse, very small budget, just us and the kids and the animals, and it was such a labor of love. And it's really like I think a very heartwarming, very not cynical movie.
This year's opening film, Nutcrackers, marks the first time that a film that is not attached to a commercial distributor has opened the festival since 2009. TIFF aims its sights at establishing a marketplace comparable to those at Cannes and Venice.
Typically, we have over 100, 130 films that are available for sale at our festival. That's the case this year as well. Many of those will sell to the global streaming platform.
The festival kicked off with celebrity sightings like Katy Perry, Orlando Bloom, and other popular actors. People crowded the streets hoping to see their favorite celebrities.
We're going tomorrow to see the world premiere for the Elton John movie, so hopefully we'll get to see Elton John.
Right now, Orlando Bloom, hopefully. I'm hoping tomorrow to get Andrew Garfield. That will be the best thing ever. I know that also Salma Hayek and Selena Gomez are coming, so I'm hoping.
This is the 49th Toronto International Film Festival, expecting almost 500,000 attendees and showcasing over 270 films from around the world. TIFF is set to be part of one of the most important film events of the year, so stay tuned as we bring you further coverage on this year's event. NTD News, Toronto, Canada.
All right, quickly markets before I go. Wall Street's traders signing off for the weekend on a down note. S&P 500 closing out its worst week since March 2023. It's down 1.7% today and over 4% for the week. NASDAQ down 2.5% for the day and almost 6% for the week. It's the worst week since 2022. And Dow Jones down 1% for the day and around 3% for the week. With that, all the stories on Business Matters today. Chris, Fiona?
Don, I think one of the things that's interesting about this film festival is how big it is and how notable it is. I mean, you see the BBC says it's one of the largest and most prestigious events in the world. Variety says it's the second only to Cannes, and I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, from what we've seen, right, is shaping up to be a star-studded event. I mean, a ton of interesting movies. I think if you're a movie lover, I think there's definitely at least one movie in the event for you if you're planning to attend.
Yeah, it really is such a huge event. I mean, if it weren't such a big event, it wouldn't be able to draw in all that star power either. I mean, we saw Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry came out to support him, a very lovely couple on the red carpet. I heard Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh should be coming out soon for their new movie. And then, I think the festival was opened by Ben Stiller's new movie, Nutcrackers, which quite exciting, actually. Ben Stiller hasn't starred in a movie in 7 years. Of course, he was in A Night at the Museum, one of my favorite feel-good movie franchises. So yeah, it's super exciting, and I can't wait to see what other new movies come out of it.
Yeah.
You know your films, Fiona. Notable premieres coming out of this include American Beauty, Ray, featuring about Ray Charles's life, and Black Swan. I think I saw American Beauty. I don't even remember what it was about, but I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Ben Stiller's Nutcrackers. I know he said it's not a cynical movie, but I can't help but to think maybe there's some humor in it just because Ben Stiller's in it, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is going to be humor. A fun fact, I read that he plays like this uncle who looks after his 4 nephews, and those 4 young actors are actually real brothers in real life. So pretty cool.
Cool, I'll check it out.
Fascinating. Don, thank you.
Thank you.